I know that you are a minister, but I don't know of what denomination.
Okay, Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee. It's a Wesleyan Pentecostal denomination.
A Wesleyan Pentecostal denomination. Okay, well, that's interesting. You may have to tell us more about that.
Okay.
You're talking about Wesleyan as in connected with the Methodist Church.
Yes, like pretty
Okay.
much like there was Methodism and like those who followed kind of the teachings of like kind of theologically John Wesley, and then it became the Holiness movement, and then the Pentecostal movement started. They were just like a chain reaction, but like kept coming out of the other. So like theologically, we're very much in line with Methodists, actually.
Really? Okay. Well,
you don't really realize that about Pentecostals, but yeah, that's actually, we have a lot of similarity. Honestly, most of the church denominations have a lot of similarity, vastly more similar than we are different. But yes, our roots are in Methodism.
Okay. I went to a Methodist church for a long time. There was a conflict in my extended family about on my mother's side over Episcopalianism and Methodism and Methodism, I suppose. So we went to an Episcopal church for a while, and then we went back over to the Methodist church. That was always a conflict on my mother's side of the family about between the Episcopalians and the Methodists.
You gotta love a good church conflict there.
So I am familiar with Methodist. Some of Methodist theology, yes.
Okay.
And I have family members who continue to go to a Methodist church today. Okay, so that was before. So this is Wesleyan Pentecostal. Okay, but now you just received last month your PhD.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I got my PhD at Regent University in theology with an emphasis in church history, kind of historical theology. And my dissertation was on actually holiness, and it very much does lean into those roots, those John Wesley's doctrine of sanctification, and so I went into the Methodist movement quite a bit for my dissertation, but it was on holiness.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's what wait, where did you get the PhD from?
Regent University in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Okay, and so it was your church history. You said church history and.
Well, it's technically in theology, but the emphasis was in church history. You can kind of do a / historical theology.
Okay.
They kind of they kind of go hand in hand. And thank you, Andrew. I see you and thank you, James.
Yes, James and Andrew. So then yes. So I said I was joking earlier on that you were the strangest PhD student that I know of, because you never really spoke too much about the subject of your dissertation, because most PhD students, what's your dissertation on? That's the first, my dissertation is on this. So your dissertation was on holiness. Would you like to speak for a few minutes about what your dissertation was actually on and what that was about?
Yes. So it's kind of my perspective, and I think it's accurate that the church as a whole, like most different denominations, kind of in the 50s, 60s, 70s, kind of got very legalistic in their approach to holiness. And coming out of that legalism, the church today has kind of not really known what they believe on the issue of holy living and what that means. And mine was really just going back to kind of as a Wesleyan Pentecostal, our theological kind of founding father of John Wesley, who really does for the doctrine of sanctification, holiness, what Martin Luther did for the doctrine of justification. And I pretty much look at it like, what did John Wesley actually, that's the historical theology. What did John Wesley actually teach about sanctification, holiness? And how did this doctrine get changed through the years as it got passed down? And then ultimately, I give what I believe is a good doctrine, a truly Wesleyan Pentecostal doctrine of sanctification. And pretty much it's that to your audience might be like, well, what the heck is she talking about? That's why I try to boil it down very easy. It really is as practical as like, what is holiness? How do we live holy? That type stuff.
Well, that's okay. We go deep here, so it's okay to go deep. So okay. I would be interested. So what did you find? What was your conclusion? We were looking at differences then between here is Wesley's original writings, the way it's and versus how it's interpreted today? What was the
Yes.
major? Okay, so what did you find?
Well, it kept again because you've got the method. Well, actually, John Wesley never was a Methodist. He did that wasn't started. He gave instructions for that to be started like after he died, and the Methodist denomination started the day after he died. He was an Anglican priest, so you really, if you follow it theologically, you've got Anglican, Methodist, Holiness movement, Pentecostal movement. And basically, what I found, and that's why I went to Wesley, I think Wesley put together a beautiful doctrine of sanctification, holiness that truly was about holiness of heart and life. And that's how it has to be. That's the opposite of legalism, just a list of do's and don'ts and conformity to a certain set of rules and ways things you don't do, way you dress, things like that. John Wesley's was very much about, as Christianity should be, about a heart change, that it is through basically God's love beginning to reorder the affections of our heart back towards God, that begins to literally make someone holy. And as a result, the actions of their life are changed because their heart is changed. It's very simple, but yeah, I hope I'm not confusing anyone.
Okay, what is the opposite of holiness?
Sinfulness, evil.
So, according to some schools of thought, opposites are always studied in the same discipline.
Yeah, so yes, definitely. Because I definitely would have to dive into. And that's where my dissertation starts, the thought on how humanity was actually originally created, how we fell, what were the results of that fall, and how are we redeemed, is kind of where that goes. And how do you become holy at that point? So yes, I definitely look at the opposite side of holiness.